The Chicago Bears just made a phone call that could have completely changed the trajectory of this franchise. And what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind about how aggressive Ryan Poles and this front office are willing to be to bring a championship back to the Windy City. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, your ultimate destination for breaking news, exclusive rumors, and all the insider information about our beloved Chicago Bears. Here you'll get the freshest updates, the most detailed analysis, and everything you need to know as we watch this team transform into a legitimate contender right before our eyes. Today I've got something absolutely massive to share with you, something that reveals just how serious this organization is about winning right now. And trust me when I say, you're going to want to stick around until the end because this could be just the beginning of something truly special. You know, when we talk about building a championship roster, when we discuss what it takes to compete at the highest level in the NFL, we have to recognize that sometimes you need to make bold moves that shock the entire league. Sometimes playing it safe and sticking to the traditional rebuild timeline isn't enough. Sometimes you have to look at your young quarterback, look at your talented roster, and ask yourself a very important question. Why wait? Why not accelerate this process and go all in right now when the pieces are falling into place and the window is starting to open? That's exactly the mentality that Ryan Poles and the Bears front office have adopted this season. And it's a complete shift from what we've seen in Chicago over the past few decades. This isn't the same old conservative Bears organization that's content with mediocrity and moral victories. This is a new era, a new philosophy, and a front office that understands the urgency of capitalizing on having a generational talent at quarterback in Caleb Williams. And when you have that kind of player under center, when you have a head coach like Ben Johnson who's already getting the absolute best out of this roster, you can't afford to waste time. You have to strike while the iron is hot. Let me set the stage for you about where the Bears are right now as a franchise. We're watching one of the most exciting young teams in the entire NFL. Caleb Williams has exceeded every expectation in his rookie season, showing poise, accuracy, and leadership that's rare for someone so young. Ben Johnson has come in as a first-year head coach and immediately installed an offensive system that's dynamic, creative, and perfectly suited to Williams' skill set. The defense has been solid, the special teams have been reliable, and suddenly this team that many people thought would need another year or two is competing right now, winning games, and making people take notice. But here's what separates good organizations from great ones. What separates teams that are content with being competitive from teams that are obsessed with winning championships? Great organizations don't just sit back and hope things continue to develop naturally. They identify weaknesses, they recognize opportunities, and they're willing to be aggressive when the chance presents itself to add elite talent that can take them over the top. And that's exactly what Ryan Poles tried to do, and what he might still accomplish if the circumstances align properly. Now, I want you to think about our defense for a moment. Think about the pieces we have, the potential we're showing, but also the areas where we could use an upgrade. Our pass rush has been decent. We've gotten pressure at times, but do we have that truly elite, game-wrecking edge rusher who can single-handedly take over games and make opposing quarterbacks' lives miserable? Do we have that guy who offensive coordinators have to game plan specifically around, who requires double teams on every snap, who can turn a third and long into a sack and completely swing momentum? That's the kind of player that transforms a good defense into a great one, that turns a playoff team into a Super Bowl contender. And what if I told you that Ryan Poles, in his quest to build a championship roster as quickly as possible, reached out to another organization about acquiring exactly that kind of player? What if I told you that the Bears made a phone call that, if successful, would have given us arguably the most dominant defensive player in the entire NFL? What if I told you that this front office is thinking bigger, bolder, and more aggressively than any of us imagine? According to insider reports that have recently surfaced, the Chicago Bears contacted the Cleveland Browns with a very specific target in mind. They weren't calling about a depth piece or a rotational player. They weren't inquiring about a veteran on an expiring contract who could provide some short-term help. No, the Bears were swinging for the fences, going after one of the absolute premier talents in the league, a player who would instantly make us one of the most feared defenses in football. The Bears asked the Browns about trading for Myles Garrett, the three-time first-team All-Pro edge rusher, who's widely considered one of the best defensive players on the planet. Let that sink in for a moment. Ryan Poles picked up the phone and tried to trade for Myles Garrett. That's not the move of a general manager who's content with a slow rebuild. That's not the strategy of an organization that's willing to wait patiently for young players to develop. That's the aggressive, win-now mentality of a front office that believes this team is ready to compete for a championship right now, and they're willing to make blockbuster moves to make it happen. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear about what happened with this particular attempt. The Browns, despite their struggles this season and despite sitting well below 500, were not willing to part with Garrett. They shut down the conversation immediately, making it clear that their best player wasn't available at any price, and honestly, you can understand their perspective to some degree. When you have a player of Garrett's caliber, someone who's still in his prime and under contract for multiple years, you don't just give him away even if your season isn't going according to plan. The Browns are hoping to turn things around, and Garrett is the foundation of any future success they might have. But here's where things get really interesting for us Bears fans. And here's why this story is so much bigger than just a failed trade attempt. The fact that Ryan Poles made this call, the fact that he was willing to explore what it would take to acquire a player of Garrett's magnitude, tells us everything we need to know about the ambition of this front office and the timeline they're operating on. This wasn't a casual inquiry or a low-ball offer to see if Cleveland would buy it. This was a serious attempt to land a generational talent and accelerate our championship window. Think about what adding Myles Garrett to this defense would mean. You're talking about a player who's recorded double-digit sacks in 6 of his 7 full seasons. You're talking about someone who's been named Defensive Player of the Year, who's made 5 Pro Bowls, who's been first-team All-Pro 3 times. You're talking about a 29-year-old edge rusher who's still at the absolute peak of his powers and who would give us the kind of game-changing presence on defense that we haven't had in years. Pair him with the young talent we're developing, put him in Matt Eberflus' defensive scheme, and suddenly we're not just a good defense. We're an elite unit that can carry us deep into the playoffs. And here's the thing that should excite every Bears fan. Just because this particular attempt didn't work out doesn't mean the door is permanently closed. The Browns are struggling. They're going to have some difficult decisions to make about their roster and their future. Direction and circumstances can change quickly in the NFL. What seems impossible today might become realistic 6 months from now. Front offices that were unwilling to move players in November might have completely different perspectives when the offseason arrives, and they're evaluating their options for a full rebuild. So while Myles Garrett isn't wearing navy blue and orange right now, the fact that Ryan Poles has that phone number saved, the fact that he's already expressed interest and laid the groundwork for potential future discussions, means this could absolutely be revisited down the line. Maybe the Browns have another disappointing season and decide they need to tear things down and start over. Maybe Garrett himself requests a trade to a contender where he can actually compete for championships. Maybe the financial situation changes and Cleveland decides they need to clear cap space. Any number of scenarios could make this a viable option in the future. Think about where we were just 2 years ago. We were starting over with a new general manager, a new coaching staff, and massive questions about the quarterback position. We were trading away veteran players, accumulating draft picks, and preparing for what everyone assumed would be a multi-year rebuild. Fast forward to today, and we're not just competitive. We're actively trying to trade for one of the best players in the NFL because we think we can win it all right now. That's an incredible transformation in an incredibly short period of time, and it's a testament to the vision and execution of Ryan Poles and this entire organization. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room, which is what a trade for someone like Myles Garrett would actually cost. We're not talking about a third-round pick and a backup linebacker. We're talking about multiple first-round selections, possibly a young player or two, and probably some additional mid-round picks to sweeten the deal. That's an enormous price to pay, and it would significantly impact our draft capital and flexibility moving forward. But here's the counter-argument. If you believe Caleb Williams is a franchise quarterback, if you believe Ben Johnson is an elite head coach, if you believe your window is open right now, then you have to be willing to pay that price. You can't hoard draft picks and hope to build through the draft when you have a chance to add proven, elite talent that can help you win immediately. The NFL is a league where windows open and close quickly. You can't assume that just because things are going well right now, they'll continue to go well for the next 5 or 10 years. Injuries happen, players decline, coaches leave for other opportunities, And suddenly the team that looked like a dynasty in the making is struggling to make the playoffs. That's why you have to be aggressive when the opportunity presents itself. Why you have to be willing to go on when you have the pieces in place to compete for championships. So here's my analysis of this entire Myles Garrett situation and what it means for the Chicago Bears moving forward. First, the fact that Ryan Poles made this call shows he's the right general manager for this moment in franchise history. He's bold, he's aggressive, and he understands the urgency of capitalizing on our championship window. Second, even though this particular deal didn't happen, it doesn't mean we won't see similar attempts in the future. Poles has shown his cards, and we know he's willing to make blockbuster moves when the opportunity rises. Third, this should give every Bears fan confidence that this organization is committed to winning at the highest level and isn't going to waste the incredible talent we have on this roster. Whether it's Myles Garrett eventually, whether it's another elite pass rusher, or whether it's a star player at a different position of need, you can bet that Ryan Poles is going to continue exploring every possible avenue to make this team better. And that's exactly the kind of front office mentality that wins championships in this league. Now, I want to hear from you, Bears Nation. What do you think about Ryan Poles trying to trade for Myles Garrett? Are you excited about how aggressive this front office is being? Do you think we should keep pursuing Garrett if he becomes available in the future? What other moves would you like to see us make to capitalize on this championship window? Drop all your thoughts in the comments below because I want to know what this passionate Bears community thinks about our direction and our future. If you love this breakdown and want to stay updated on every Bears rumor, every potential trade, and every development as we continue this incredible season, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Here at Bears News Fan Report, you're getting the inside scoop before anyone else, the deepest analysis, and all the passion that our beloved Bears deserve. Give this video a like if you're pumped about how aggressive Ryan Poles is being. Share it with your fellow Bears fans, and I'll catch you in the next update with more breaking news from Chicago. Bear down, everyone. Our time is now.